Hello and welcome back to Exotical Tea. Today's video will be about how to spot a frenemy. So have you ever had a friend who smiled in your face, but somehow your life got worse the closer they got to you? Like every time you shared good news, the energy shifted, or every time you looked good, they got quiet, or every time you were down, they were suddenly the most supportive person alive. That's not a friend, that's a frenemy. So today we're going to break it down how to exactly spot one because honestly, frenemies don't show up as enemies. They show up as, fans or sisters or supporters, even soulmates until you look closer. So this video is just for the girls who felt confused in their friendships, the ones who keep giving chances. This was me. So if you ever ignored your intuition because you didn't want to seem dramatic or, whatever the case may be, we're gonna go deep into that kind of friendship dynamic. The subtle jealousy, the quiet red flags, and the competition. So let's get into it. So, a frenemy is not someone who openly dislikes you. That would actually be easier to spot and to deal with. So, a frenemy is someone who they keep you close and they watch you closely, and they will silently compete with you and undermine you subtly, right? They benefit from being in your orbit, but they don't want you to win. They want to win, or if they're not winning, you're not allowed to win either. So the reason this is so dangerous is, especially in female friendships, is because it's wrapped in emotional intimacy. You tell them your secrets and you trust them and defend them, and the whole time they're just studying your habits and insecurities to position themselves. So let's talk about energy. Usually your body will notice it before your mind does. Like you'll feel drained after hanging out with them, or on edge when you're sharing good news, or maybe you feel like you have to shrink around them, or like, they're not really supporting you. And some people will gaslight themselves out of these feelings. Like you might say, "Oh, I'm overthinking," or maybe she's just having a bad day, or maybe I'm being insecure. But one thing that doesn't lie is a pattern. So if you're consistently feeling uneasy around a person, usually there's a reason. So these people will compete with you, but pretend they're not. And this is one of the biggest signs. So a frenemy is always in competition with you, but it's never direct. Instead, it shows up like this, right? You'll mention a goal, suddenly they have the same goal. You'll buy something, now they need to buy something better. You'll get attention. Now they're trying to redirect it to themselves. Like it's subtle and quiet, but it's constant. And the key difference between a healthy friend and a frenemy is that a real friend is inspired by you. A frenemy is threatened by you. So you know those compliments that don't feel like compliments, like wow, you actually look pretty good today. Oh. Or they'll be like, I could never pull that off, but it works for you. Like, okay. I don't know how to feel about that. Or, oh my gosh, they'll be like, you're brave for wearing that. Do you want to fight? Like, what do you mean I'm brave? Do I look bad? I don't know. That's just, there are so many. These are just some examples, but like, that's not support. It's shade. And they're disguising it as politeness. Like, they don't want to openly insult you because that would expose them. So they'll plant little seeds instead. And over time, they will start to affect how you see yourself. So, you know, another thing is that they will love you the most when you're struggling. And like, it's super super duper uncomfortable, but it's also very real. Like the frenemy is often most present when you're going through something, like most supportive when you're at your lowest, and most engaged when you're vulnerable. But like once you start doing better, they disappear. They get distant, and they'll start acting weird because your struggle made them feel secure, and your growth threatens that security. So yeah, just they'll also gather information. I mentioned this in the video about monitoring spirits, but they will gather information, they're not trying to connect. So pay attention to how someone asks questions. Like a real friend will ask to understand you, but a frenemy asks to study you. They want to know what your insecurities are, or what you're working on, who you're talking to, what your next move is. And at first it feels like interest, but then you realize they're using that information sometimes to copy you, sometimes to sabotage you, sometimes they might just be trying to position themselves ahead of you, or they're just trying to tell your business to someone else, which oftentimes you will know if you are around those other people. But anyway, let's talk about the copycat phenomenon. So, the friend who slowly becomes you, same style, aesthetic, interests, way of speaking. Like, there is a difference between influence and imitation. But, when they're competing in your lane or they feel like they're trying to replace you, like it's obvious it's not admiration. They are obsessed and insecure and they want to be you. um, ooh, another big one. They will create embarrassing moments for you. So they will try to embarrass you in ways that they can deny. So like they might bring up something personal in front of others, or they'll make jokes that target your insecurities, or they'll put you on the spot, or they may slightly undermine your credibility. And if you react, they'll say things like, oh, it's not that serious, or I was just joking, or you're too sensitive. And like it's intentional because now they've not only embarrassed you, but they've also invalidated your reaction. And they're able to keep their image clean. Another thing to note is that they want to keep you close, but not as their equal. So they don't always want to remove you. Sometimes they just want to keep you right where you are. So you're close enough to compare themselves to, or monitor, or feel superior to. But not close enough for mutual growth. So you might notice they don't genuinely support your opportunities, or they may subtly discourage your progress, or they don't celebrate your wins properly. And if we're being honest, like the signs are there most of the time. I feel like we mostly ignore them because we don't want to lose the friendship, um, or we've invested time and emotions. We don't want to seem paranoid, or we confuse familiarity with loyalty. And female friendships especially, there's pressure to stick it out, be understanding, and communicate everything, but not every dynamic needs to be fixed. Some dynamics need distance. So calling it out directly isn't always the best move, because frenemies they they thrive on drama and confusion and emotional reactions. It feeds them. Like don't feed don't feed the monkeys. So a couple things you could do is just limit what you share, stop telling them everything, don't give them access to your plans or your insecurities, don't tell them your next moves. Just keep some things to yourself. um Another thing to do is to observe more than you speak. If you just pace yourself in the conversation, they will reveal themselves without you having to do much of anything. You can create distance, quietly. You don't have to announce, oh, I'm gonna distance myself from you. Like not everything needs an announcement. You can just move accordingly. Strengthen your self-trust. If something feels off, believe it. Another thing to do is to upgrade your circle. So the more that you experience genuine friendships, the easier it is to recognize the fake ones. At the end of the day, a frenemy doesn't always hate you. Sometimes they admire or envy you, or they wish they were you, but none of that creates a healthy friendship. So real friends, they will not compete with you. They're not going to study you and hope that you fail. They'll stand beside you, not behind you watching, and not in front of you blocking your path. So if this video resonated with you, take it as a confirmation, not paranoia. And just remember that not everyone who has access to you deserves access to you. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe for more deep dives into social dynamics and feminine friendships and navigating relationships in a world where not everything is what it seems. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.